Live, Laugh, Larceny discusses true petty crimes that may be disturbing to some.
Or could be easy listening to all you psychopaths out there.
All stories are based on actual events, but details may vary.
Listener discretion is not advised.
Live,
Laugh,
Larceny. Welcome to Live, Laugh, Larceny. Selling yourself short because this economy isn't shaping up anytime soon. This is Trevin.
Damn straight. And I am Amanda. So, Trevin, tell me, what is dreadful in your world lately?
Well, I've got something dreadful. It comes with something good.
Okay, good.
But the moment was dreadful for me. So, breaking the news. I have said this before, but even when I said it, I was still not 100% sure. But I am unofficially going to CrimeCon.
Yay! Woo!
I will be there. Amanda won't be able to make it.
I know.
I will have a table, but you will not see me on their website, so I'm breaking in.
Petty criminal style in true us fashion.
Yes, that is me. So I probably don't deserve to be there, but I'm doing it anyway. So with going to CrimeCon, I learned very last second that I was going, and I quickly reached out to you and said, we need stickers. I need something to give these people. The stickers that we had from True Crime Podcast Festival last year, there wasn't very many. CrimeCon is going to be 1,000,000 times bigger. So it was, hey, we need to get some stickers made, and I need to have them ready. But I'm not a very good designer. I do our stuff for Instagram, and anytime I need something that needs Photoshop, I grab you.
Yeah.
Or if I can't get you, sometimes it's Emily if I'm in a real pickle.
Yeah.
So I was at work trying to get some stickers done, and I wanted to do something other than square.
Right.
And all of our logos are some sort of a square.
Yes.
And coming up with a way to make our logo look good on a circle took a lot more work than I thought it was going to.
Yeah.
It was almost like when something's wrong with my car and I'm afraid to work on my car because it reminds me of how I'm not a man and can't do it.
Oh my God.
I'm sitting here dabbling and trying to make this look good, and I'm thinking everything that kind of makes sense to me design-wise, I mean, there's still a good chance all this is going to look absolutely terrible when I bounce it out of Canva because I don't know what I'm doing, really. Luckily, though, we were able to get it figured out.
Yes, we did. And honestly, I loved what you came up with. You were very much in a rush. I mean, it wasn't something we were able to really talk through, think through anything.
Yeah, I think it's going to look really great. We're doing holographic this year.
My God. I know. I told Trevin, I was like, I'm jealous. First of all, I'm jealous about everything. I'm jealous that I'm not going, and I'm sad, and I wish I could. It's just right now, can't swing it. But
yeah.
I'm jealous that I won't get to see the stickers first because they're kind of already shipped over to a direction where you're going to pick them up before CrimeCon. So
yes,
it's sad, but I'll get one eventually.
You will get one, and I already told Amanda I would get a second goodie bag for her. Honestly, anything Emily gets, she probably won't want majority of what she gets, so
right.
You can probably have most of the things she grabs.
God, I know.
But if anybody's going, find me.
Oh, please do. Message our Instagram and tell Trevin if you're going, and maybe he can kind of meet up with a few of you if you're going.
Yeah, I know some other podcasts are having meetups there. I might try to get into some of those groups and just visit some other meetups. I'm going to do as much mingling as I can and feeling out this crazy crime world.
I'm so proud of you. God, you have really grown over these last few years with putting yourself out there and mingling. It's going to be great.
It's going to be something.
It's going to be great.
Who knows? Maybe I'll turn into a Florida man while I'm down there.
Oh, hell no. Please,
it's in my blood.
Well, I also have a dreadful dilemma. You know, each and every week, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah, it's almost like we purposely see our lives in a dreadful kind of way so we can keep this up.
I know. God, bizarre. So my oldest is a kindergartner. She is back to school. We are starting to get into the swing of it all. And my God, there has just been a lot about it that I wasn't prepared for. Okay. One of those things is going to be my dreadful dilemma today, and that is the pickup drop-off line.
You see, I've never had any experience with this, even with my mother, because I was a bus rider.
Oh, Oh, okay. Did your school even have a drop-off pickup line? I mean, your town wasn't that big.
No, my town wasn't that big. There was a long one-way street that went down the back side of the elementary school. And so a lot of parents would just kind of pull up, and there was an entrance closer to the kindergarten side, an entrance closer to the 5th grade side, and then one directly in the middle. And so parents would kind of just park whichever door was the closest, and they would just watch their kid walk out of the car into that door.
Okay. So no, it wasn't like this whole production because like I've said before, I was raised in a village, a very, very, very small town. Mm-hmm. Also, I was kind of spoiled because my dad was a teacher. So I would just ride to school with my dad when I was a young kid and just walk right in with him. So I didn't know if this was just a city thing. I'm starting to gather that it is. But no, it is a whole production. You have to get there. You're all lining up in this line forever. Mm-hmm. There's all these different helpers wearing vests. I assume most of them are teachers or paras or administration, and they all take shifts, I think. Mm-hmm. And they just kind of like wrangle these kids. They all have a tag on their backpack. They get out. There's the whole system. It says the name of their teacher and their name on it. They're tagging them like cattle. They're going and going. But there's a bunch of like little stressful things about it that I just didn't expect. One of them is the timing. Because we had to take time off of her first week because we all got COVID, I've only had really a week to kind of figure this out. So I tried to show up at different times each day for pickup and drop off. And I timed myself to see which took the longest or what timing worked.
Oh, wow. I could see myself doing this.
I know it sounds excessive, but when I tell you that my first few experiences, I was like 40 minutes in the car trying to show up there super early and waiting. And I'm sorry, guys, it's not worth it to be in the front of the line. Mm-mm. It's not. The later, the better, to be honest. I feel kind of like a POS for saying that, but the later you show up in these drop-off pickup lines, they're already moving at that point. Mm-hmm. If you're in the front, you are going to be waiting there for 40 minutes. You just are.
Because they just don't start taking kids until a certain point.
No, it's going to start at a certain time, and you have to be stuck in this line forever. And then you have to get a sign in the front of your windshield with your kid's name on it, too. Mm-hmm. So, like, when pickup comes, there's a woman who texts them, like, Lila Rose is coming, you know? It's a whole thing. The last thing I'll say about it is that I practiced a few things with Lila before she went to school. I was like, okay, this is how you wear your backpack. You need to start going potty from start to finish completely by yourself, girl. Come on. You know, all these things. I didn't practice with her how to quickly put on her own seatbelt because when they put them in, mm-hmm. they're just like peace and love because they said that they would help the kids get buckled in if they need it. But like literally no one has even asked or given us the time. So we're over here holding up the line if you're mm-hmm. like trying to reach back there and buckle her and they tell you not to get out because it's like, once we're going, we're going. It's the whole thing.
They're holding the kid by her back and throwing her in, slamming the door and slapping the car like, get it going, get this thing out of here.
So yes, it's been a dreadful situation, but I think I have finally figured out the best time to leave the house to go and do this.
Yeah, I think you'll master it. It's like social skills. You'll find a way to just make it all work for you.
I'll keep you guys posted. I think I figured it out for now, but we'll see. We'll see how desperate I get.
Well, it sounds dreadful, and that's one of the things that I've always said about not wanting to have kids is all of the extra people you have to talk to in your life. You just have to communicate with people because of your kid.
Yeah.
Like I've always said, it would suck to have a kid who made friends with somebody whose parent sucks.
Oh, God. I know.
And so just like that, you're going to have to meet teachers you don't like. You're going to have to meet other parents you don't like. Oof.
Yeah. It's already happened to me. I mean, one of Lila's BFFs, and I can say this because she never spoke to me, but one of her BFFs in preschool, I tried to talk to her mom on a field trip that we went on. And yeah, I just kind of got iced out and it was a real bummer. I was like, damn, dude, we could have like hung out. Like, I'm not that weird.
I hate that.
Oh, Trevin, before we jump in to our killer facts this week, I wanted to read something that was really, really nice. And I don't know, I've just kind of been in this mood lately the past few days where I just want to spread more positivity. I just want to ooze it out of me. Happy times, you know?
Gross, yeah.
Maybe to some. But we received a message from a listener and I just wanted to share it. So this is from Abby, and she said, not sure if you'll see this, but love you guys so much. Listen to you every single night. Back to re-listening now because I'm up to date. The best antidote to listening to true crime 24/7. Thank you for creating an amazing and unique podcast. Literally wait every week for your episode drops. I love your friendship and honesty. It's like being with old friends. Amanda, you are so beautiful inside and out. Your laugh is infectious. Please never stop. And Trevin, your creativity makes every episode a joy to listen to, and your songs are so extra. Love it. Sorry, I'll stop fangirling now. Much love from Manchester, UK.
Ah, that's so nice.
That was so nice. And obviously I love it because she said that I'm not obnoxious, you know?
Mm-hmm. In this business, you need to hear that more often.
Honestly, though, I just want to keep hearing things like this, guys. That's really why I'm repeating it. But no, thank you so much to Abby because, I don't know, it's tough out here sometimes, guys, when you're pouring out your creativity and your heart into things, and sometimes you can feel beaten down. So it was a really nice message.
Yeah, I mean, each one of these stories are handcrafted by us and stuff. We're not making book reports off of looking up things, you know, we're actually coming up with stuff. And a lot of it, for both of us, that's our way of expressing ourselves. You know, I make these stories about myself just as much as I do the petty crimes, and it just helps me make it through.
Yeah, I have been feeling that more and more recently. I'm specifically looking for the most specific thing because I'm like, I have to write about this. Anyway, it's just really nice to see that, you know, there's people out there that really appreciate it.
Yeah, and we appreciate you. All of you.
So we are on to our killer facts this week.
Hello?
We've traced the facts. They're coming from inside the house.
Killer facts.
Boy, are we. And this week I am going first. And I've got something that's been on my mind since summer movies came back.
Okay.
The old Barbenheimer. Now, as you remember, I had to go out of my way and just give a tight 5 minutes on what I thought of Barbie.
Yes.
And I liked Oppenheimer too. I just didn't give it as much of due as I gave Barbie.
Okay.
But I will say that Oppenheimer was a great movie. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. It was very long, but ever since I saw it, it's left me thinking about the invention of the atom bomb and all of this and how scary that really is.
Dude.
Maybe it's because I didn't live with it. I know there's plenty of shows like Twin Peaks made a big deal about it. A lot of people, you know, say the original evil was when we made the ability to blow ourselves up, basically. And so Oppenheimer does a really good job of making you feel, I almost felt regret for it myself. Like, man, I wish I didn't make that bomb. I always felt like I was carrying that guilt.
Damn.
But did you know that there was a nuclear bomb way bigger than this? It's not really a surprise that there's bigger, but just how big?
Oh, God. Okay. Go ahead and tell me because I know you're about to.
So I'm going to tell you about a little bomb called Tsar Bomba.
Woo. Sorry, I was going to say it makes me want to dance.
The bomba. It is a Soviet Russia bomb, so it's probably why it has this fun name, because it's not English.
Okay.
But it's spelled T-S-A-R, bomb with an A, bomba.
Okay.
I got my information from Be Amazed YouTube videos. He made a great, pretty funny, entertaining thing about nuclear bombs.
That takes some skill.
Yeah. And also nuclearmuseum.org. So just so you know, when we dropped Fat Man and Little Boy on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, we killed about 200,000 people.
God.
The H-bomb was created in 1952. It was 1,000 times more powerful than what we did to Hiroshima. So Hiroshima's bomb was 15 kilotons of explosives. The first hydrogen bomb was 10 megatons. So that's millions of tons instead of thousands of tons. But in 1961, the Soviet Russians made a hydrogen bomb that was 57 megatons, 3,800 times the power of the bomb that destroyed Hiroshima. 3,800. I'm not saying double the size. I'm saying 3,800 times larger.
The size.
So if Hiroshima and Nagasaki together killed around 200,000 people, and I know this is totally just like speculative math here, but if you were going to say that just the death toll could be times by 3,800, that would be 7,600,000 people if that bomb would have been let off on people.
Good Lord. I'm shaking.
Tsar Bomba was let off in 1961. It was 26 feet long and it weighed 27 metric tons. It was so big that it didn't fit in the plane that carried it. it had to be carried on the bottom of the plane. So you see the plane, and underneath it is just this huge bomb. The pilots who dropped the bomb were given only a 50-50 chance of survival because they knew this bomb was so powerful that they're like, okay, you're going to drop the bomb and you're going to hightail it out of there, and we don't even know if you're going to make it.
Whew. To take that job, you have to be ready. Be like, okay, I could die.
And it's all for just a test. This is one they tested. They didn't do it to fight an enemy or anything.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to ask, where did they drop this? Okay.
On October 30th, 1961, the plane carrying the Tsar Bomba flew above the testing area, which is an island in the Arctic Ocean called Novaya Zemlya. It's Z-E-M-L-Y-A. Zemlya.
Yep.
I know I heard it said out loud to me, but I forgot how it was said. To give the pilots more time, the bomb was given a parachute. And the parachute itself, because this thing was so many megatons heavy, the parachute itself weighed 1,800 pounds. But still, the bomb exploded, causing a shockwave to rock the plane. It actually sent the plane plummeting, but luckily they were able to regain control and they actually did not die.
Wow.
The explosion destroyed anything within 22 miles and sent a mushroom cloud over 37 miles high. That is 7 times higher than Mount Everest. God. The cloud reached higher than the stratosphere.
Oh my God.
And the width of the cloud was about 59 miles wide. This was the Russians showing that they could do bigger than the Americans. They were just like, hey, put it on the table. Here it is.
Yeah.
So they found that the giant bomb was not practical. They're like, this was a lot of work to do. They couldn't actually let the bomb hit the surface. They had to detonate it before to help with the shockwave.
Oh.
And when it blew up so much, it actually blew itself upward, so it never actually reached the earth at all.
Oh, okay. Because I thought usually they had to do this in the middle of the ocean. Right? Like, I thought that was a protocol.
A lot of times it's in the ocean. This was on an island. I don't know if anything lived on that island. I'd have to look that island up.
Damn.
Again, we just give the small bite-sized bits on them. There's a lot of numbers involved with this, but I just find this so interesting and also just so scary.
Terrifying. Yeah.
So they found after doing this was totally not practical, carrying a big bomb that can't even fit in your plane. So they decide after that, if we ever have to go to war, we're going to have to do multiple smaller bombs instead of this big daddy. But this was so scary, the Americans were like, yeah, we're not going to try to do bigger than that, which is very surprising for Americans. You'd think that we would have to do one bigger just to say it was bigger.
Yep.
So this was the biggest nuclear weapon ever created and used. Wooden or brick buildings as far as 34 miles from ground zero were annihilated by the shockwave. Even homes over 100 miles from ground zero in different Soviet districts were destroyed or damaged. People received third-degree burns as far as 62 miles away from the blast. The blast was felt as far as 430 miles away, and glass shattered at a distance of 560 miles from ground zero. Glass even shattered in homes in France and Norway. So that's how far this thing affected things.
Holy shit. And I assume they didn't give the people a heads up, right?
Probably not from that far away.
They're not like, nuclear test coming right at you.
Yeah, they probably just told the people that were within their country or that they thought would be affected, but they probably didn't tell the neighbors.
Yeah.
So, quote from one of the aerial eyewitnesses. The clouds beneath the aircraft in the distance were lit up by the powerful flash. The sea of light spread under the hatch, and even clouds began to glow and become transparent. At that moment, our aircraft emerged from between 2 cloud layers, and down below in the gap, a huge bright orange ball was emerging. The ball was powerful and arrogant like Jupiter. Slowly and silently, it crept upwards. Having broken through the thick layer of clouds, it kept growing. It seemed to suck the whole earth into it. The spectacle was fantastic, unreal, supernatural.
I feel like if you witnessed something, that would be how you would write your... I mean, I guess he didn't write it. Like, it was a quote, but...
Yeah, people were just more proper back then.
But I can see you being really poetic about it. You wouldn't just be like, yeah, I saw this fucking thing. You would be like, yeah, it was like coming up out of the sky.
Yeah, if it was somebody on TikTok, they'd just be like, dude, this explosion was dope as fuck. And here I would be just weeping and writing it with a quill. So perhaps the only beneficial thing of the Tsar Bomba is that we all signed a partial nuclear test ban treaty on August 5th of 1963 between the Soviet Union, United States, and Great Britain. They make a point about this in Oppenheimer, that with all their math equations, there was a chance that our atmosphere could have gotten lit up from all the nuclear power going on. So they thought, even when they went to do their first test, there was a chance that they could have ignited the Earth like a bomb and just everybody would have died. But
cool.
In the math,
cool, bro.
In the math, they said It's less than 0, but it's not impossible. And we were still just like, I think we'll test it.
Worth it.
But my thing is, this thing was 3,800 times larger than what we did to Hiroshima.
Right.
I imagine when you start multiplying it that much, that your chances of something earth-shattering is a much larger chance. I mean, they said it reached the stratosphere. My thought was, what if you blew a hole in the ozone and we just didn't have oxygen anymore?
How about that?
And that was all just for a test.
A test.
A huge test to say that they could go biggest.
Oh, God.
It's so scary to think about, and Oppenheimer really opened my eyes to like the power, and also, you know, our world's ran by men who have something to prove.
Mm-hmm.
That's the last person you want to have that kind of power.
That is so damn terrifying. I really want to watch Oppenheimer. I've yet to see it or Barbie, but I will one day.
Yes, you will.
Damn, that is very, very scary. The fact that there's anything out there that has that much power, And I'm glad that they signed that. It sounds like everyone was scared.
Just a quick fact here. Between 1945 and 1980, 510 megatons of explosives were set off around the world just for testing.
Oh my God, guys.
By 1980, France, UK, and China all were testing on top of the Soviets and us as well. So we've got 5 different countries just blowing up parts of the earth. There was some other stuff, but you know what? I think I'm actually going to come back to this in different sorts of facts because I have some other things I learned along the way.
Damn.
So for now, we're just going to go with that. But it's just crazy to think that 5 countries, you only got so much earth to go around. Like, maybe stop testing explosives on it.
I would really appreciate it personally, but
what do we know?
What do we know? Exactly. Well, I also have a killer fact, and it's another grim one. I mean, one that just kind of makes you question people like, why did we do that?
Mm-hmm. We question a lot of people here.
I love a good questioning. So, are you familiar with the infamous Tent City Jail in Arizona?
Is that where they were keeping people who were trying to seek asylum and come in?
It kind of turned into that. So you've at least heard of it, roughly, it sounds like. And I will say, I got research from a lot of different websites. Kind of like your fact, there was a lot to this. So I really don't have any particular website because I kind of just made my own thing here. But Tent City Jail in Phoenix, Arizona was created in 1993 by Sheriff Joe Arpaio.
Oh, I know that name.
It was created as a temporary solution to overcrowding in the other county jails in the area. However, what started as a temporary solution ended up continuing on for 24 years, which was not the plan originally. What made this jail different than most was that it housed low security inmates, aka petty criminals, right? In outdoor cells in the sweltering summer heat. So this is in Arizona, and the whole jail is an outdoor thing.
My nightmare.
You're forced to be outside. Temperatures inside the cells would reach up to 130 degrees Fahrenheit or 54 degrees Celsius. Inmates were given pink underwear, socks, shirts, and towels to use. The former sheriff said he wanted to prevent the inmates from stealing them.
Because they wouldn't want things that are pink?
But many believe it was just a way to shame the male inmates, like a toxic masculinity thing.
Joe did some questionable stuff.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even get into it, but he was very questionable.
I'm pretty sure he's the one that, with Jodi Arias, he had her do a talent contest in prison.
Oh, I could have so seen that. Because, yeah, this whole thing was basically a spectacle. It wasn't what he ever said that it was. He actually had to get pardoned by Donald Trump, too. I mean, he didn't have to, but he did. Also, pornographic magazines were banned, which I didn't know that they weren't banned everywhere in every prison. I guess they aren't. Like, you can have whatever porno you want in jail.
Yeah, probably for like $100 or something.
So here it's banned. But another thing that is said, and this is just a sick little thing, cooking shows were broadcasted in the cafeteria while the inmates ate 2 meatless meals a day. Also, I saw video footage of some of these meals, and it basically looked like pig slop.
Like gruel.
The traditional cafeteria, like it's smacked on your tray, nasty glob.
Yeah, like a 1980s comedy where they go to school and then like they do a weird slop on that plate, yeah.
Yep. Another weird thing that I found, and I actually didn't find this part on any of the articles that I read. This was actually on a video that I'll talk about at the end. But Joe Arpaio's tank, he has a personal tank, was parked right out in front of the jail. It was custom painted. It was like a big showboaty, stupid thing that I just had to throw in there. So over time, there were less inmates and more undocumented immigrants housed there. So kind of what you were saying, they were facing cruel treatment and unsafe conditions. Honestly, guys, it gets really dark. A lot of the details, I'm not going to go down a whole thing. There was a lot of like racial, slurs and harassment and all sorts of horrible things.
When I lived in Phoenix, he was on the TV a lot, and they had a lot of different rules and stuff against immigration. It was just very weird coming from Kansas City and then seeing all that.
And also, he was actually quoted talking about his jail and comparing it to a concentration camp. It's understandable why this whole thing got canceled. It's just a huge bummer. It took 24 years, but whatever. Many activists rallied to shut down the facility, and when the new sheriff in town, Paul Pinzone, I don't know if he's still the sheriff, that's just the guy that took over after him, and he wanted to shut it down. He wanted to do just that. So Joe Arpaio said it cost $80,000 to erect the jail using surplus military tents left over from the Korean War. Paul Pinzone said shutting it down would save taxpayers $4.5 million a year. Also, I watched the beginning of this episode. I would have loved to finish it. I probably could have gotten way more facts from it. But there is a show called World's Toughest Prisons. And this was episode 1 of season 1. This was the very first jail that they covered. So yeah, it's got to be bad when it's the very first.
Yeah, a whole show is using this to bring people in for more. Well, that sounds awful. I don't really remember all of the main stuff when I lived there, but there was just some questionable things that I would see. And I'm like, I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone because some of the stuff seems very obviously bad.
Yeah, like Wild Wild West. Just insane. So I'm glad that got shut down. Clearly they didn't need it anymore because the remaining inmates there just got sent to other jails and they fit. So there's the proof. But the thing that grabbed my attention was I was like, are you kidding me? We are using the color pink to punish people? And then it got darker and darker as I kept looking into it. That was the first thing that drew me in. But you know what's going to uplift us all after these crazy killer facts we've given this week?
Could it be crimes?
Nope, it's ads.
Okay. We are back, and it's my week to tell the story first. And I've got a good feeling about this one. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to reference a TV show that I've referenced before, and maybe I'm a fan of it. We'll see. I got nothing else to do to build this one up. Let's just get into it, and we will discuss after. And here we go. Do you like to do it yourself? This quote from the 40-Year-Old Virgin has been playing in my mind ever since I decided to write this story. Of course, if you haven't seen this movie, Steve Carell goes up to Elizabeth Banks, trying to be a mysterious guy who diverts all questions back at her with more questions. So he sees her holding a DIY book and asks her, "Do you like to do it yourself?" In which she replies, "Sometimes, if the mood strikes." Don't worry, this story is not an innuendo for masturbation like this classic scene from 2005. I actually want to just talk about DIY projects. So, do you like to do it yourself? I was raised by a woman who is obsessed with DIY projects, homemade gardening decor, sponge-blotched paint patterns on walls, and turning your pantry door into a chalkboard. These are just a few things that I've seen my mom do. I'm not knocking her for these decisions. She was rolling with her skill set. If you're tall and athletic, you should at least see if you have what it takes to be a good basketball player. Kobe. If you're cheap and crafty, you should probably be doing some DIY projects to save some money. We all should make decisions that play to our strengths. It just makes life easier. Being a first-time homeowner in the mid-90s, my mom worshipped at the feet of HGTV. Gardening by the yard for outside projects.
If your plants look thirsty, give them some Windex.
And design on a dime or decorating scents for the indoor stuff.
Today, we're making a wreath out of yarn and dirty diapers.
This was the original Pinterest. There was no Google or on-demand information. You just sat in front of the TV and watched young Karens with bob haircuts turning trash into decorative treasure. This was the Wild West of home decor. DIY projects don't always have to be home decor stuff. I couldn't care less about decor or aesthetics, but that same uber cheap mindset is strong within me too. In a lot of cases, it's way cheaper to half-ass do something yourself than paying a professional or going to the store and buying the stuff you actually need. Sure, everything I've ever fixed myself is a ticking time bomb, just waiting to fall apart on the next use. But my hope is that I'm not the one needing it when it finally happens. My career in audio and music creation was all out of necessity to do it yourself and be cheap. I was a whiny teen who wanted recordings of me whining about my issues. I wasn't going to work more hours at my job to afford a professional to edit and mix my work, so I taught myself how to do it. Did the song sound pretty bad at first, and borderline damaged speakers due to my need to crank the bass? Absolutely. But I learned and got better. Whether it be out of cheapness, not having the right tools for the job, or simply because you want a challenge, there are a lot of us out here finding ways to do things ourselves. And in this economy, I think we are only going to breed more people like this. The story I've prepared for you today will follow a very ambitious do-it-yourselfer, and will show us all that even though you're saving money and resources, you're not always saving yourself from a criminal conviction. Sizzling meat, beeping timers, registers closing, and frantic knocks on the door of an occupied restroom.
Come on, man!
These are the common sounds heard at the Cedar Rapids Taco Bell. For the majority of Cedar Rapids residents, this was an atmosphere that you wouldn't have to spend too much time in. A typical citizen would get hungry, run inside, order sour cream slop fried within a crispy tortilla, and get the hell out before the grease smell sets into their clothes. That's just what any normal person would do. But for our main character, Chris, this was not an option. Chris was a 31-year-old employee for the Cedar Rapids Taco Bell. Every day was sizzling meat and beeping timers, but at least he had access to the employee restroom. This always came in handy when he needed to pump the brakes on his fast food life. The job wasn't the worst for Chris. Angry customers never fazed him, and everyone knew him as the guy who could wrap the tightest quesarito. It was nothing to him, but the teens that worked the drive-thru really admired his mastery of the Mexican arts.
He's a damn burrito artist.
The problem with Chris's situation was the fact that the job wasn't challenging. Every basket of nacho fries he deep-fried came out perfect and without any black spots.
Beautiful.
His tacos never broke in the wrapper, and his burritos had the power to change lives. However, it didn't matter. His skills never translated to higher pay, and he was never considered for any promotions. He was right where Big Taco wanted him, in the kitchen, doing the grunt work and receiving no thanks. Unlike his Crunchwrap Supremes, his Taco Bell career had become stale and passionless. Staring into the giant vat of nacho cheese, mesmerized by the swirling yellowish orange, Chris began to think about how repetitive life was at the taco selling restaurant. He could deal with the fact that he had no professional prospects within the company, but it was just so boring. If he could bring some of the comforts of home to work, maybe he could rejuvenate his career for the long term. But of course, that was not possible. He continued staring at the cheese as he sniffed up the snot that came with the single tear in his left eye.
What's the matter, Chris?
Jenny, the manager, asked, noticing her all-star in a state of existential dread. Surprised by Jenny sneaking up on him, Chris had to think of an excuse for his workplace sadness.
I miss, Beth. Who's Beth?
Jenny asked, really interested in Chris's problems. Chris looked away to hide his obvious lie.
Beth is this woman from Wisconsin. She takes the best mirror selfies, and her eye makeup is always on point. I'm just afraid we will never meet.
Jenny put her hand on the back of Chris's grease-soaked shirt and began to lightly pat him.
There. If you ever get to meet Beth, make sure you bring her to your work family here at Taco Bell. I'm sure we'd love to meet this wonderful person too.
Chris immediately stopped crying as Jenny walked away. This very weird encounter sparked the perfect idea for Chris.
Aha!
He said out loud to himself. Now, before I go any further into the story, I feel it's important to bring up this little nugget of information about our main character. I chose to start by establishing Chris's dominance in the fast-paced world of Taco Bell. However, there is one other interest in Chris's life that is very crucial to his story. Chris was a loyal consumer of hard drugs. So although Beth's character has a striking resemblance to one of our lovely listeners who happens to have the same name, Chris was not talking about her at all. Bring Beth to meet my work family, huh? Little does Ginny know, when I said Beth, I actually meant meth. See what I mean? Maybe I didn't need to pause the story to explain that after all. At the end of his shift, Chris went over to his friend Kent's house to gossip about work and share some illicit drugs. The two were a bit of an odd pair. Besides their love for highly addictive substances, Chris and Kent didn't have a lot in common. Kent had no job, no marketable skills, and spent most of his days getting high while watching Breaking Bad. Chris's Taco Bell stories were always a welcome change from Kent's usual binging of Walter White and Jesse Pinkman. Chris told the story of his emotional time at the cheese vat before Ginny inadvertently gave him the great idea of bringing meth to work. That's a great idea, Chris. Doing drugs at work is cool. You should definitely do that, Kent said, quite encouragingly. Chris thought long and hard about that decision. Sure, he could pack a lunchbox of all his meth-consuming essentials, but Chris had quite an appetite. If he was going to get Baja blasted at work, he was going to do it right. Nah, man, I need enough so I can stay high all the time. Kent stood up and dramatically swept yesterday's Dorito crumbs off his shirt. Jesse, we need to cook, he said, before going more into detail. Hear me out, dude. I've seen every episode of Breaking Bad 17 times. That's 1,037 hours of watching. Over 43 days worth. I know it's not a year yet, but I'm getting there. I know all of Walter White's tricks. If he can cook multiple batches of meth in other people's homes, we can bring meth to meet your Taco Bell family. With your can-do attitude and my meth cooking knowledge from Breaking Bad, we can cook right inside your place of employment. All we need to do is have some obscure jazzy song take us to the next scene, and the meth cooking montage will do the rest of the work for us. Not only was Kent convincing in his plan, but Chris was incredibly impressed with how quickly he could calculate the math on his rewatching. Chris gave an affirmative head nod as the scene began to fade into an off-brand Breaking Bad meth cooking montage. Chris walked up to the closed Taco Bell as he used his employee key to get in. As he punched in the security code, Kent began bringing in gas cans full of fuel to the restaurant's utility area. Chris slowly dumped out a bucket of taco sauce as the scene seamlessly transitioned to Kent pouring drain cleaner into the same bucket. They mixed lye with a packet of Taco Bell secret spices and got the burners cooking. Kent reared back and gave Chris a good laugh, realizing that this was the first accomplishment to ever bring him actual fulfillment. Chris returned the laugh, completely shocked that Kent was able to accomplish anything. As the meth was sizzling and taking in the flavors of Taco Bell's utility closet, the two stepped outside for a celebratory smoke. Kent immediately grabbed Chris and gave him a tight hug. Thank you. Thank you for showing me that I am capable and giving me a purpose. You know, Walter White made a meth that was 99.1% pure. But no matter how this batch in there turns out, I know the bond we've made tonight is 100% pure. The two shared this perfect moment for a little longer before a police officer drove up.
It's a little late for fourth meal, don't you think?
In August of 2015, police responded to calls of suspicious persons outside of the Cedar Rapids location of Taco Bell. When police arrived, they found an employee of Taco Bell, 31-year-old Chris Matthaus, with his friend, 56-year-old Kent Doobie, no relation to the marijuana cigarette. Inside of the closed fast food establishment, they found an active meth lab in the utility area. Both men were arrested and charged with conspiracy to manufacture methamphetamine, while Chris got additional charges, including possession of meth. At the time of his arrest, Chris Matthaus told police that the meth being made was for personal use, so that he could, quote, stay high all the time. Taco Bell made a public statement, calling the men's actions unacceptable, as well as making it very clear that the meth was not cooked in the kitchen. The location hired a cleaning company that specializes in cleanup of hazardous materials and did not reopen until the health department did a full inspection. So, did this story make you want to get out there and do more DIY projects? Had this whole plan worked out, I'm sure Chris would have made his job a lot more exciting. But I can't imagine a world where these guys actually pull it off. So in closing, I want to stress that not all DIY projects have to be meth labs and Taco Bells. Sometimes they're just crafty decor ideas that will look embarrassingly tacky in about 6 years. Or jerry-rigged doorknobs that need to be reattached every couple of weeks. Whether it's saving you a trip to the store or saving you the embarrassment of calling someone whose profession greatly triggers your imposter syndrome of being a man, DIY projects are here to stay because, well, they save us more than just money. They save us peace of mind.
Wow. I'm all about a good DIY, but this? You come into a Taco Beezy with your meth?
Pretty ballsy, huh?
Ooh. Did I miss it? Is that really how they were caught? The cop was just circling around. Did you say that?
So a cop showed up because people had called the cops saying it's like 4 a.m. Why are there people going in and out of Taco Bell?
Okay. So somebody saw them and called. And I assume they have security cameras?
I assume. That's another thing I was saying. I just can't imagine a world where this worked out. From everything I understood, they said it was an active meth lab because they were trying to cook in it. At first, when I read just the headlines, like we always do, the headlines
Right.
are a little more sweeter than they actually are. I thought this dude had a meth lab in the utility closet and he had been like using it for weeks and days.
Okay.
For what I understand digging deeper into it, they were trying to make the meth that night. Was their plan to leave it there? I don't know. But I think this was their first night of giving it a try, and getting all these equipment in there and working in and out of it raised suspicion of people who were just passing by.
Damn, so they only had one night.
One night, and I don't even know if they finished a whole batch.
Oh my God. Okay, the one guy was 56. I can't remember the other guys.
The other guy was 31.
Yeah, that's another really big age gap again.
That's why it felt like Breaking Bad to me. Like there's an older dude and a younger dude.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah, like he was his little mentor or something.
I mean, I tried to make Kent Walter White because he watched Breaking Bad and he was just older.
Oh my God. The fact that you had to say Jesse before you did all the lines to get in the Walter White mindset had me rolling behind the scenes.
After the credits, I will do a little montage of all the times I had to do this voice because... Yeah, there was even one time where I did a Breaking Bad quote and said, Jesse, we need to cook. And you were like, did you mean to say that? I'm like, yeah, that's actually part of it.
Yeah. Oh my God. And
Jesse.
Jesse, I'm really glad that you put in the whole part about what the Taco Bell had to do to reopen safely, because I was curious about that.
Yeah, they were very particular when they did their little speech that went out to the people. They were like, this was not in the kitchen. Still, we're going to clean it, but it's not in the kitchen.
Yeah. At first, I was like, wait, this is where they're rolling up the burritos? But yeah, you kept saying utility closet, so I assumed it stayed just right there. But God, I mean, what a nightmare.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe they reopened flawlessly and everyone thought it was fine. But I feel like if I knew why it had shut down, maybe a lot of people didn't. But if I knew, I'd be
I
like,
bet everybody knew.
I would hope.
As big as this story was getting around and going viral with how goofy it is,
Right.
you bet that the local people were probably all over it.
And if they were telling me repeatedly, I feel like I'd be like, I might go to a different Taco Bell. So I don't give my kid methed out nacho or something.
Yeah, Metharito or something.
And the Baja blasted. Oh, that was beautiful.
I'll tell you, it didn't come to me very quickly.
Well, you know what? I don't even care. Sometimes things take work, right?
That's true.
Beautiful things take a lot of work. So whatever it took.
I don't think we had done a hard drug story in a while.
Yeah.
We
I
did a
know.
lot back in the day, I feel like.
Yeah.
Usually, if it is, it's not part of their character. It's just, oh, real quickly, they did a little meth before they did this. But this was a big part of his character. He loved Beth and meth.
Beth and meth. I loved how you transitioned. Like that was the thing that got his mind going. What the hell does make somebody think, it's okay, I'm just going to break into my job after hours and make meth there?
And if you think you have the ability to do it, then why aren't you just doing it at home? I don't know. Like I said, when he was arrested, he said it was to be high all the time and for personal use. And that's why I made that joke in the thing. Oh, he couldn't just make meth and put it in a lunchbox and take it to work because he has a big appetite. So he just has to have the whole thing there. I don't know what his mentality is. Why would you do that? Like, just cook it at home if you're going to do it.
It can be dangerous. You hear about places exploding and whatever, but still, so you're just risking the Taco Bell exploding?
Yeah. And like you said, security cameras. There's just no way that was going to work.
Well, I know the way you explained it to some people, Taco Bell might not sound so appetizing afterwards, but but I love Taco Bell. I just really want some Taco Bell now.
Yeah, I have nothing against Taco Bell. I will say the last time I had it wasn't real great, but back in the day, drunk night,
that's what
getting
I'm
a little
saying.
wild.
I know. I don't really eat it that much anymore, but I used to go there all the time.
Cheesy potato burrito.
Ooh, yes.
Bring it back.
That was a really good one. I think I might have a connection.
Okay.
We'll just see after I reread this out loud.
I'll keep my ears peeled.
Please do. So this story is from the news. However, it deals with a subject matter that I personally am going through. It may even be something that I talked about during my dreadful dilemma today.
Ooh, drop-off line.
So, here we go. There is something so innocent and exciting about sending your child to school. You get to pick out adorable backpacks, covered in kittens or hearts, and pack perfectly prepared lunches separated out in a bento-styled lunchbox. If you're really lucky, you'll even get a photograph of your smiling student holding up a chalkboard sign, having no idea themselves what it says.
Smile, you dumb little idiot.
But there is a terrifying aspect about going back to school, one that only some parents experience and no one warns you of. It's a sick ritual designed to trap individuals, suck out their souls, and then send them back out on their merry way. Today's story will shed light on the dreaded and dark route of the school pickup drop-off line. Susan Rodriguez was a busy mom living in San Antonio, Texas with her young child in 2022. It was just her and her little one, Sam, at home, so Susan felt the weight of balancing all the finances. This caused her to work, and work hard. She had worked at a luxury pet treat company called Prissy Pet Express for years and really worked her way up in the company. Susan had started at the lowest position possible, dog treat tester, but had quickly proven her knowledge of delectable treats and was promoted to their customer service department. After again proving her work ethic, knowledge of the product, and connection with the customers, upper management took a keen interest in Susan.
This woman is the future of pet treats.
After a few more years of employment, Susan was finally promoted to the marketing department. Her main duty in the office was to come up with new and fresh ways to sell their latest luxury dog treat flavors, whether they were popular with pets or not. While juggling her hectic promotion, she was also planning for taking Sam back to school. The main difference this year was that Sam requested that Susan drive to school, instead of making Sam endure another year of riding the bus with a bunch of wild hooligans.
I dare you to lick the dirty floor.
Everything seemed like it was coming together as Susan entered her job the day before Sam's first day of school. Entering Prissy Pet Express, there was a familiar odor of pet perfumes and barley. Susan's heels clicked on the vinyl flooring as she passed through customer service, up the stairs, and into her brand new marketing office. But before she could let out a brief sigh, in walked the overbearing CEO, Meredith Morgan, still talking on her cell phone.
I don't care if some blogger thinks our puppy parfait treats aren't actually gluten-free. But to be safe, let's get with Tim and get her blog canceled.
Meredith spoke aggressively into her cell before ending the call.
Hi, my name is...
Susan tried to introduce herself, but was cut off by Meredith holding up her pointer finger as she scrolled on her phone for a few more seconds.
Yes, so you're the new addition to the marketing team I've been hearing so much about.
Meredith gave a smug smile before continuing on.
Well, I wouldn't get too comfortable. The last two people with this position couldn't hack it at this job. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and Prissy Pet Express is here to feed that beast. Oh yeah,
Susan tried to agree, but the CEO kept on.
I'll expect a new marketing strategy presentation tomorrow at 8 a.m. sharp, or you'll be back downstairs in the puppy pound,
she threatened as she swiftly exited Susan's office. The rest of Susan's day and night was filled with anxiety over her job as a pet treat peddler and as a back-to-school mom, leaving Susan in a haze as she drove up to Sam's school the following morning to join the drop-off line. The line of cars was already jam-packed in the street with sedans and minivans as Susan pulled up at 7:15. Her vehicle hadn't remained at the back of the line for long, however, as many more eager vehicles piled up closely behind her. Susan anxiously watched the time on her clock tick away as the drop-off remained stoic and unwavering. The air began to feel suffocating for Susan as the AC suddenly felt warm to her. The sounds of the idling engines surrounding her began to overwhelm all of her senses, causing her to wonder if she was even in the right line. 40 minutes had passed when the first sign of movement came from the front of the line. Susan worked close by the school, but making it to her marketing presentation on time was becoming more and more unrealistic. Her vehicle had only moved a few feet when Susan officially began to lose all patience. She yanked her steering wheel to the left and assertively drove past the rest of the parents' vehicles. Once Susan had made her way into the school parking lot, an off-duty deputy walked up towards Susan's vehicle.
Excuse me, ma'am. You've intentionally disregarded traffic safety by veering out of line and into a high-foot traffic area. I'm going to need you to get back into the drop-off line, please.
Susan looked at the officer, at Sam in her rearview mirror, and then back at the clock on her dashboard.
I don't have time for this. I'm late for work,
she stated to the deputy as she turned her steering wheel towards him and accelerated. The deputy let out a squeal of shock before Susan's front bumper knocked into him and sped towards the back of the school. The deputy gathered himself and realized that he was perfectly okay from the hit.
Holy shit.
He then began running towards the back of the school, finding Susan dropping off her child and starting to flee.
Bye, honey. Have a great day. Gotta run.
Before 8 a.m. on Tuesday, August 30th of 2022, 32-year-old Susan Rodriguez struck off-duty deputy Michael Hernandez with her vehicle in the Idea Walsham Charter School drop-off line. An arrest warrant affidavit states that the deputy was directing school traffic in the drop-off lane when Susan swerved out of the line and onto a path with heavy foot traffic. After the deputy stopped her and ordered her back to the line, Susan was quoted saying, "I don't have time for this. I am late for work." She then turned her vehicle towards the deputy, accelerated, and hit him. Witnesses saw her hit the deputy, then drive to the back of the school, continuing to drop off her child. Luckily, Deputy Hernandez was okay and able to chase Susan to the back of the school. Body cam footage captured Susan admitting that she struck the deputy and that she had heard the impact, yet refused to stop. Patrol deputies were then contacted and cited Susan for disregarding traffic laws. After the body cam footage was reviewed 2 days later, an arrest warrant was issued. Susan was booked into Bexar County Jail on failure to stop and render aid, and an aggravated assault against a public servant charge. Bond was set at $25,000, and she was released the following Sunday. To everyone out there right now listening to this podcast in a pickup or drop-off line, hello. And know that you are not alone. There are many other bored parents getting baked in the afternoon sunlight, lined up in front of and behind you. And to those who are listening elsewhere, beware, for you never know what crimes may be committed while confined to these never-ending lines of bullshit, or who might try to stand in your way.
So I do have some information that I want to share real quick.
Okay.
I have zero information on what grade, gender, or name of her kiddo is. Obviously, that's a child. They are left out of this. So obviously that had to be fabricated. And also no article gave Susan's actual job or workplace. So of course I had my fun with that as well.
That sounds like a fun job besides the boss.
Besides the boss, I mean, I've worked in small startup companies that, you know, you can work your way up in. I took just experiences of other
jobs or bad experiences that I've heard of. And I just wanted to kind of create this fake environment. I don't know why I had so much fun creating the Prissy Pet Express when it really had nothing to do with anything. But I was telling Trevin, I even Googled it to make sure it wasn't a real business because I didn't want to tarnish that for anyone.
Any place called Prissy Pet Express, if it existed, would probably be a lovely place.
It sounds lovely.
Although you said she was a treat tester at one point.
She was a dog treat tester and worked her way up, all the way up to the marketing department. You know, that's a real job.
And like people like taste it.
Yes.
I don't know if you know this about me, but dog food and cat food grosses me the hell out.
Oh, really?
It's so nasty. Ugh. Anytime the cats eat and I can smell it on their breath, I'm like, get away from me. You're nasty, salty food. I hate it. It's so nasty to me. I don't know why. It's just one of those things.
Oh, I've tried dog food before. Out of curiosity, I tried a little pellet of it. I mean, it was not ideal. I would never just eat it as a meal.
Well, that's good. I sometimes wonder if Emily would because she likes the smell of it.
But yeah, can you believe, though, this woman just straight up hit someone? I mean, I know the way I wrote the story that I'm trying to sound empathetic because in a way I am. I think that what's really crazy is the expectations of parents and trying to be a working parent and also being able to drop your kid off is really a thing that I honestly am very grateful about my situation right now because I don't have to be at the office at a certain time or I'm going to get in big trouble, you know. And also, my kid's school starts at 9 a.m. It doesn't start at 8 a.m.
That's nice.
So I don't know what parents do, though, that start work at 8. Like, what are they doing? I guess you can send your kid on the bus, and a lot of people do that. But what if you don't want your kid on the bus? That's like your only option, or maybe sometimes grandparents are dropping them off. I don't know.
I don't know. I know they just have to find ways to make it work. I know at my work, some people kind of have a deal worked out to where they can kind of show up a little late. I don't know what they do to work that out. Maybe they shave it off their lunch or what.
I know. And some jobs will not. And that's really unfortunate because it's like, how the heck are these people supposed to get their kids to school?
Yeah, we have to have this dumb, stupid ass job. Like, help us out a little bit.
Come on. It's like everyone knows that kids have to be at school, right? So work with us a bit. It has to get done. And ideally, we want our kids to be safe. So like, I could get on a whole soapbox. But anyway, I do empathize. Obviously, my dreadful dilemma was the line. However, hitting someone with your car is just never okay, obviously.
Especially a cop.
Yeah, like I was saying at our school, I think it's only the teachers and the paras and people that work there. I mean, San Antonio is a big city, so maybe they do have off-duty police officers helping, I guess.
Well, plus it's Texas.
Yeah.
Everything's bigger than Texas.
Everything's bigger and better and tougher.
Yeah. If you have a para, then Texas, they got a cop.
Right. We're like, I'll see you one para and I'll raise you a cop.
Yep.
So what did you think about that, though?
I get it. You had said sometimes you get that anxiety feeling like, am I in the wrong place? I don't like getting caught in big car lines. I know that I've had my weakness for Dairy Queen in the past, and that DQ over by my house gets quite a line to it towards the end of the night. And sometimes, even when I'm in the DQ line, which is not the same thing, I am like, oh, I don't want to be in this line any longer. I feel so weird being
trapped. I know it seems unrealistic, but sometimes I feel trapped. Anytime I'm in a line, I'm like, okay, well, can't get out now. What am I going to do?
Right. Well, I mean, at that point, you are almost one with your car. If you're like, I want out of this situation, I have to somehow get my car out of it too. I've been in a lot of stop and go traffic lately because they've been doing some work on the road by my work. And there's a lot of times where it's like, I just want to jump out of my car and fucking run.
I know.
But I'm like, if I do that, I got to leave one of the only assets I own behind.
I know. Trust me. I have considered that as well.
So I totally get how that's uncomfortable. And
yeah, I don't know what her situation was. I had fun with creating it. And I can say that I empathize, but I can also say, ooh, girl, I don't care how desperate or how late I was about to be. I would not want to hit someone with my car. I know she was just trying to get around, but there's a person there.
Yeah, and also you're surrounded by witnesses. Even if you didn't have the body cam, you would have been so screwed.
I know, body cam and witnesses.
And
they
you're
had
dropping
all
your
of it.
kid off, so it's not like you're going to escape without them IDing you.
I know, and she just thought, okay, well, you know, I'm pulling to the back. Bye, kiddo. And then he ran after her and was like, I'm holding you here until the other police officers get here.
Have a good day at school.
Bye,
Snitches get
sweetie.
stitches. Don't say anything.
Stitches, sweetheart. And I just know what she got charged with. I don't know what happened after that.
Yeah, that's the sad thing. I was just recently on the Tinish podcast. I'll give a proper shout out when I know it's live. But Nick had asked me a couple times, like, well, what'd they get? And I'm like, well, I could tell you what they got charged with, but I don't know what the punishment was because all of this usually gets settled afterwards. And
no one follows up about it. Why would they? I mean, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, the newspapers just want to get you that one click when you read the crazy headline. They don't care if somebody who bumped into a police officer got a week in jail or a month or whatever.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Yeah.
I do.
I care. I love it when they're like, this is everything that happened to them afterwards, and here's a life update. I'm like, oh. But connections.
I only have that one.
We both talked about lunchboxes, like you said. I guess technically we could talk about being an employer and how your guy was a really bad employee by trying to cook meth there. And my lady would have ran over an officer just to get to work on time.
That's true. A couple weeks ago, we did the good parent move and the bad parent move. And this is kind of a good employee move, bad employee move.
Take notes out there, people. This is what to do and not to do. Actually, they're both what not to do.
Yeah, for real.
Technically. But that's really the only thing I can think of. I mean, I think that's a pretty solid connection, though. And obviously, I tied in my own dreadful dilemma to the line compared to this woman's. So I think that's a good way to wrap it all in.
I like that. And the lunchbox is just a fun, obscure thing to bring up. We don't talk about lunchboxes.
That was. But I hope that everyone out there is having a great week. And if you're going to CrimeCon, please hit Trevin up.
Yes.
And just remember, no matter the crime, big or small, in the end, we're all doomed.
Doomed to be stuck in car lines forever.
Bye.
See ya.
Any other Taco Bell lovers out there? I mean, regardless, thanks for loving our show.
And do you find nuclear bomb information really interesting too? Follow us on social media, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, or Threads. We may just share a picture of this thing.
And have you ever hit an officer with your car? If you have, please send us your petty crime story. Might not be so petty if that's the case, but send it to livelaughlarceny@gmail.com.
And give us a review better than you would review a school drop-off line. 5 stars across the board. Review our show on Apple, Spotify, or Good Pods. I can't do a Walter. I want to make this guy like the Walter White, but his voice is...
Oh, God, that's tough.
I can't. I'm not sinister. Okay.
Yes, you are, Trevin. Feel it within your soul.
Jesse. That's how you. That's how you have to do his voice. You have to say the word Jesse first.
Yeah,
Jesse.
you do. You do. Yeah, quiver that lip. Quiver that lip.
Jesse. That's a great idea, Chris. Jesse, we need to cook.
Did you mean to call him Jesse? Oh, okay.
That's actually a quote from season 2.
Okay.
I'm going to say Jesse again now, though, to get in the character.
Yes.
Jesse.
That's so true, though. You have to.
Yeah. Jesse. Hear me out, dude. Kent immediately grabbed Chris and gave him a tight hug. Jesse. Thank you. Thank you for showing me that I am capable.